Hello, everybody, and happy Saturday. Happy Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, depending on where you're at. We got a few people here. This is always a lesser crowd, given the time slot. But we're going to go over some different techniques that you may not have ever thought about when it comes to processing your photographs. I was asked this week to help with a design. I was sent a photo and you needed some help making it into a laser ready piece of artwork for some coasters. And that's always a potential nightmare. Photographs can be one of your biggest aggravations, especially when it's someone else's photographs. Because if it's not a good photo, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't get a good photograph, you're not going to be able to recreate a good image. And the better the image you start with, the easier it is to create something. Fortunately, this one was actually pretty good. There are some, not problems, there are some characteristics about the photograph that make it less than ideal, but we're going to look at those and look at how we can modify those and adjust those before we ever even send it to Lightburn. And then in case you don't have the ability to do these things, I will show you how you can fix them in Lightburn as well. So didn't get a haircut, just trimmed the beard. Didn't get a hair. It took Dad to get a haircut today, but they didn't have time to get me worked in, so I just trimmed the beard a little bit. The hair is, in fact, the hair is in desperate need. I'm wanting to go back to the flat top, and I need to get under the blade again. Normally, I just do it myself, but when I do a flat top, I can't do that. Normally, I just take my shears out and go at it. So, I think I seen somebody mention in here, be sure to hit that like button. There's only 50 of us here right now, so we should have 50 likes right now. I've changed my mentality about not asking you to hit that like button until after or midway through, because you don't know if you like this or not. Well, if you're here, you're anticipating liking it, and guess what? You will. Let's see here. And I see some exclamation points here. I'm absolutely loving my Roly MK2XW. Excellent customer service. You will not find better customer service. You might find the customer service equivalent to, but you won't find better customer service. I ran into that with a company this week. Over the past week, I've been trying to secure some information about a piece of equipment before I invest in it, and even expressed interest in trying to do something with the collaboration. And it was like trying to pull hen's teeth. I mean, it just their own customer service was unable to answer my questions, and I'm like, okay, well, that's your job. I mean, I'm not asking totally off the wall questions. I'm asking about the equipment's ability to process wood. It says here, I said, I can read what it says online. I need to know firsthand experience. If you don't know, then somebody in your engineering department, somebody has to have answers to these things about what customer service is gone. Next door, the Bojangles restaurant, they've replaced their drive-through window order takers with AI. When you pull up to the drive-through window now, or the kiosk there to place your order, it's artificial intelligence, and they named it Bolinda. So Bolinda is there to take your order. And I heard that when I walked across the parking lot, and I knew as soon as I heard it, that was not an individual, because, well, let's just say everything about its grammar was spot on. So I knew it wasn't nobody from around here. And a few people restaurants have been doing that. But I got in there asking them, I said, what do y'all do now? She said, well, we just put food in the bag and hand it out. We don't take the orders. We take money, hand the food. I said, they're making robots that's going to do that too. They're going to have you out of a job soon. But customer service is almost non-existent. So to find somebody like Roly who has the quality of service that is a rare and a cherished thing. Leo and Dimitri, they care about their end users. It's not like we got their money. See ya. Bye. They want to make sure that you are able to use your laser. And if you have any problems, they're going to be there to take care of it. And what's really good is their ability to recognize that this is the 100,000th time that they've answered this question, but it's the first time you've heard it, and you don't hear it in their voice or in their interactions that they're fed up with saying this for the umpteenth time, because they recognize this is the first time maybe it's your first laser, your first issue, so they're happy to walk you through it like it's the first time they're there too. Really, really good company. I'm glad you're satisfied with it. All righty. Let's see here. What's with all your numbers? Who are you talking to, Peter? What's with all the numbers after your name? Because we haven't got any learning stuff yet. Who's got numbers? Have I got numbers? I don't think I got numbers. Hey, there's Steve in the house. Hey, Steve, how you doing, buddy? I'll be interested to see if you've done some of this stuff I'm going to talk about today with the processing of photographs. Let's see here. Just want to make sure I get yeah. Once. And make sure it's on when you quit. I keep hitting that like button and just flashing on and off. Yeah, hit it one time. One time. That's all you need. All right. Very good. Very good. And Bill says, I always thank you. All right. I've got to the second comment about Roly customer service been the best. It is awesome. All right. Okay. Chicago Bob says, I have the first Roly and I'm waiting on the MK3 to come. Yeah. That MK3 is interesting. I have not done any deep dives with it. I wasn't involved in the initial launch, and I've spoken briefly with Dimitri about it and the things that they're going to be doing. What I really like about I understand they've pushed off the release because they've added a new feature to it that I think is going to be spectacular and giving the quality of the product that I know Leo puts out. I'm not that worried about its dependability and repeatability, but I understand they put it off because they're going to be using the LiDAR, if I understand correctly, and don't quote me on this because I'm going from what I have heard and seen, what little bit I've seen. I'm pretty sure it's got autofocus. It's using LiDAR. It's using its ability to sense its proximity to your laser engraving surface. So they're going to use that same capability to allow you to engrave curved surfaces. And that's cool. There's a couple of the lasers out there who've claimed to be able to do it, but I've not seen anybody talk about it being. But with Roly, I expect it to be nothing but. So that's cool. The numbers are YouTube changing us from names to numbers. The numbers are YouTube changing us from names to numbers. Okay. I don't know what that's about. All right. So, as I said, I was sent a photograph this week, and in fact, I received this photograph at 11 o'clock at night, I was sitting in the recliner and they said, "Hey, I need to process this and make it into some coasters." And I said, "Well, I'll be glad to help walk you through that and do this." But I didn't know what tomorrow was going to hold, the next day. So I said, "You know what? I'm going to get, just in case they need this, I just went ahead and processed and sent them over a file in about 30 minutes or so. So they had it that evening before I went to bed. And I have not had a chance. I think it's Carl. And Carl, oh, yep, there's Carl. Carl said, "Sorry, I sent it that late." No, Carl, this is Carl's image that we were talking about. And it, that's not late. I was up. If I wasn't up, I wouldn't have responded immediately. I responded immediately. I was still awake, and I just processed it and did it. But this is something that I prefer to do is you have people and on in my Hobo with Wood Facebook group, I put up one of the new rules, or I think only two rules. One is, be nice to each other, and two, no solicitation. None. Nobody's selling anything on Hobo with Wood Facebook group but me. And I'm not there to sell. I'm there to promote and to educate. But there should be nobody offering to do anything there for a fee, and no one should in that group be paying anyone to do anything for a fee. This right here, I wanted to show Carl how to do this so that when it comes up next time, he's able to do it himself. He's not got to depend on, "Oh, I know what? I know Hobo and he can do that." Yeah, I can, but I would rather teach you how to fish than give you a fish. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'm not just going to be showing Carl, showing everybody. And beware of people who are, "Oh, yeah, we'll do it for you. I'll be glad to help you. And it's $50 an hour." I don't care if it's a very well-known name in the YouTube universe or if it's somebody you've never heard of. There's too many capable and folks in the community who are willing to help you out for no charge, and be careful paying people to do stuff. And Chicago Bob says, "Yeah, but I don't like to fish." Okay. Well, I would rather teach you how to bake a cake than sell you one or give you a slice. I'd rather teach you like to bake. I don't know. Fish can be fishy. I'm picky about fish. I am very picky about my fish. That was Steve's comment. Yeah, I am very, very, especially in today's world. I do not like farm raised fish. I want wild caught fish. And I'm even particular about where it's caught from, because they can still say, "Oh, well, it's Atlantic raised," or they still got farms out there and they're just sitting there in those nets and I'm very, very particular about my fish. All right. And he likes pie. All right. Let's look at this image that Carl sent me. And I'm curious. In fact, I'm just going to show you the image, and I want you guys to put in the comments any negatives that you see, if any, about this image, because it's one of the biggest problems is resolution. This is a very high resolution, very nice image. So let's switch over here, and this is straight out of, or this is actually still in my inbox. So what do you see here about this image that might be problematic? Anybody got any input there? Negatives. We work with film photography now. What negatives? What you talking about, Steve? I miss it, actually. I used to be a huge 35 millimeter. Yeah, the text is a little wavy. The background is a problem. Okay. All right. What else? Anything else? Background, the strips going up. There you go. All right. The rows of grapes in the center. Well, the rows of the grapes in the center there, that actually looks kind of like what, looks, it's all wavy, and you'd expect that to see. But who was it that said it? the rows of grapes in the center. No, the right here. Carl said it. It's his photograph, and he says it right there. The strips going up. And I'm guessing you're talking about these right here. And it's not just these strips. This entire image is rotated about 1 to 1.5 degrees counterclockwise. Now, that's not the only thing. Yep, grass in the background, all this stuff. There's too much green, grass in the front. Yep. All right, excellent. All right, so you guys have seen the majority of everything that is wrong with this photo. But this is not a problem, not with this photo. This is actually when you get photographs from customers who are asking you, can you do this for me? Sometimes they have pie in the sky expectations. They'll send you a grainy Polaroid from 1976 and ask if you can bring that out and make them, it just, so you have to know what your limitations are, what your laser's limitations are, and what are you using to process the image with. Now, I was using Lightburn to do everything, but I learned a new trick, and I did it for the first time with this one. And I'm not using any software online or any, just using the camera app and your photo gallery app on your phone. This was taken with his phone's camera, and using the editing software within your, and I'm using Samsung, I'm using an Android, and Android's got an extremely good editor. And I'm anti-Apple. I don't like to use anything that's Apple. But the one thing about the Apple products is they brag about them having better creativity. So if that's the case, then I would imagine that Apple's photo editing software is at least as good as anything that Android and the Samsung platform has to offer. So you mentioned the background. We're going to get rid of the background. You mentioned the grass in front of the sign. We're going to get rid of that. The fact that it's off its axis about 1.5 degrees, we're going to fix that. I'm going to fix all these things first using, and I'm going to do it for you in real time right here. You're going to see it on the screen using the photo software, editing software. And then we're going to look at it in Lightburn too, just in case you're not comfortable with the technology and the phone, or maybe you've got a flip phone and you actually, I don't know what, for whatever reason, you can't do it with the phone. We'll look at doing it in Lightburn, because the very first time I processed this, I did it solely in Lightburn and got a pretty good result. I have tweaked this image 3 times since I got it first from Carl, and Carl's received all 3 versions of my edits of this. There is, and when you're using your photo, your camera, depending on your phone, but most phones should have this, you have the option a lot of times to actually have, just like in Lightburn, we have the grid in Lightburn for when you're creating. Most camera apps have an optional grid you can turn on. If you're going to be using your phone to take photographs for laser engraving, it needs to be head on, directly facing it. It needs to be square as possible. And it needs, the other thing on here, and no one mentioned it, is it's slightly closer to you on the side of the F and 5. The S in trees is an inch or 2 further away from you. So that's got the image tilted just a little bit. So that skews that entire thing. So from left to right, the F in 5 is taller than the last S in trees, even though they're supposed to be the same size. But because of the photograph and the way it's tilted, you see that what it does with my hands there? Same thing. So you want to be square with the surface of the thing you're photographing. Everything needs to be as perfect as possible to minimize the amount of work and corrections you need to do. With all that said, we can still fix all this. Now, what I've got, remind me later. Let's see here. Go here. Go to gallery. Do. Oh, sorry. Come, there we go. All right. So I have my phone here, and I'm going to sharing this with the screen, and you're going to watch everything I do on the phone in real time. And let's switch that to that to that, and then switch you over here. All right. So you can see here it's 3:20. This is real time, 3:20 p.m. Eastern time. This is my Ultra phone. This is the image just as it is in my inbox. I have not done anything to this at all. And the Samsung photo gallery, the pencil here, is my edit tool. I'm going to click on my pencil. And then over here for the dots. And this is with the Samsung. Your iPhones and your other phones may be a little bit different, but I'm sure you have this capability. Those extra dots are where you're going to find a lot of times your lassos and your object erasers. And this middle one right here, this says lasso. It's a magnetic lasso. It's going to cut out pieces, and depending on your phone and your software, some of them are better than others, but this one's really, really good. You don't have to be really specific with your lasso. I'm using my finger to just take and draw a circle around. Let's see, I select the lasso. There we go. And then it says draw a circle around anything in the picture you want to keep. So I'm just drawing the circle around that part of it. And I didn't even connect it, but it's smart enough to do that. And you see it just magnetically snapped right to that. And then I'm going to say, okay, next. And it removed every bit of that background. That's really, really, really cool. But now I've still got, if I zoom in, let's see, go say done. And then I'm going to, if I zoom in, you can see there's that piece of grass that's right there in the way. Well, with that at full screen, I can now use that object eraser right here. Just click on it. And now it scanned that entire image. And I can take my finger and just draw a line right there, highlighting that. I didn't even get it really good. I just put it right there. And it's smart enough to know, so, oh, you know what? Okay, I see what you want. Let's get rid of that. Erase. Now, it's kind of messed up the S a little bit, but that's easier enough to fix compared to trying to fix all the rest of it. Now, I've got that. I'm going to say done, save, and then share. And I'm going to email it to myself. And that image is going to be in my inbox now. So just turn my phone off. Let's go to my inbox. Gmail. Here it is. Now, there's one other thing I forgot that I wanted to try, and I didn't, but this one's already pretty, it's actually a grayscale. It's not really black and white, but you have the ability on most of your phone's photo software to convert that photo from a black or from a color photo to a black and white and keep the resolution up. And I wonder, I haven't tried this, but I wonder if using the photo processing software to convert it from color photo to a black and white image before it goes into Lightburn, and requiring a Lightburn to do that as well. And maybe Lightburn's image processor, maybe it's not quite up to speed as an actual photograph processor would be. Maybe you'll get a better image processing it before you bring it in to black and white, maybe. But there's my image that I just emailed myself that I edited in the software. I'm going to download it. It's in my downloads. Now I'm going to go over to Lightburn, and here is this is just a trace from Lightburn. And you can see there's the grain of grass, and it's off kilter. Oh, and I forgot to, duh. You know what? I want to show you just so you see it. let's go back to the phone. And let's minimize this. Minimize this. All right. So I'm back in the same image there. I'm going to come down here and click on my pencil again. Now, do you see that grid? And right, you've got a 9 square grid right here, and you have this right here. This is where you rotate your piece, and you can even change it if you wanted to try. And like I said, this side is a little bit closer than this side. You can actually use the software to try and correct all of that. But I'm not going to worry about that so much. But if I zoom in right here, you can see that there's a straight line and right there, and you can see how much of an angle that is. Well, I can now use this bar down here to slide this and move that photo around and eyeballing it and get that kind of squared up there. And that makes it even better. And then let's see here, save that. Oh, let's see. I didn't want to do that. Hey, how you doing? I need to go back. I didn't want to do, I don't want to revert back to the original. I messed that up, but we're not going to worry about that screw up right now. I should have done that initially before I saved that. But when I zoomed in and told it, then it saved that zoomed in crop picture instead of the whole thing. But I'm not going to worry about fixing that right now. But you've got tools in your phone that you can do some really, really good processing of that image before you ever send it to Lightburn. So let's go over here to Lightburn, and the image that's in Lightburn is still going to be off about 1.5 degrees. It's still skewed a little bit, and I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to bring in the actual photograph into Lightburn too, and show you the difference of what Lightburn can do and what before you've done anything with it. And you'll see the advantages to doing a little bit of prep work to the photograph before you ask Lightburn to do a whole lot. So let's minimize this. Go back to Lightburn. And like I said, this was the original. That's just a actual trace. I'm going to delete that. This was the image that I was able to produce. I'm going to bring in the photograph you just watched me edit, which is right here. Is that it? I've done so many today. See all the different ones that I've sent out to him. Okay, now those are Lightburn files. This one. Okay, open. All right. So that's the one that I just lassoed in Lifetime, because you can still see it's a little skewed. If I take this, I'm not going to adjust the image or do anything to it. We're just going to trace it. Come on. Trace image. You can fade the image out and see what it's going to look like. You got all your screws. Now here, I want you to look. See, there's a screw where it's mounted to the fence. There's a screw where it's mounted to the fence. Same thing there. But a lot of this stuff, not a lot, but some of the stuff you don't need. You can come down here to this ignore less than, and that's going to clean up some of those small pieces that are arbitrary and you don't need. You can increase that number. In fact, if I go back down here, see over here on the side, these are artifacts that you can clean up by simply selecting them and deleting them. But if you eliminate them during the trace, and you don't have to clean them up. And I'm going to jump it up. And you want to be careful, though, that you don't eliminate something you won't. Like these holes in the tree line up here, I want to keep those. So if I put in here 25, and let's see what happens. I didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to do that. Trace 25 tab, not cap locks tab. All right, let's fade the image. Let's jump that up to 50. All right, and so that got rid of all of those over here, but I got rid of one of them up here, and I got rid of that. So 50 was too much. And this is a very, very clean image. Some images you'll have that'll be way too little, or be a whole lot of these things, and it's be advantageous to do this. All right, and 20 is about as high as I can go and still keep all the holes in the tree. All right, say okay. And I'm going to delete the image when done. Delete image after trace. Okay. So there is the initial trace, and it's okay, but that's still not, as far as I'm concerned, that's not laser ready. I need to make that much, much better. And let's see here. Looking for comments before I get too far going. Okay, good. All right. In fact, I need to mark this spot in the chat so I know where I'm at. All right. Now, I'm going to put this in wireframe mode using Alt-Shift-W. Alt-Shift-W. Now I can see this, and if I go up here and grab me one of my guidelines, and I bring it right down here, and I snap it to about where that corner of that straight line should be, you can see just how off that piece is. Now, I can grab my measurement tool and come over here to this line and look for, I'll bring this down here so I can hopefully go to it. There we go. I need to highlight. All right, there it's showing 0.2 degrees, 0.4 degrees. And if I try, maybe come over here, there, 0.4, and it's not going to let me because I ain't getting close. There's a lot of extra nodes there. Oh, still not getting it. There we go. 0.4 degrees shows you the direct or angle of rotation on that line right there. And if I come down here to this line, which is supposed to be parallel to that one, just double check it and see where it's at. That one's showing 1 degree or 0.1 degree. Some of them don't show anything. Now I can come over here to this rotation handle and just start trying to drag that around and eyeballing it and look at trying to get that squared up with that guideline. And that there's pretty darn good. You can also use your rotate tool. If you were able to get an accurate measurement showing you exactly what that angle was, you could just come up here to rotate and tell it to counter rotate and square that up. But using the guideline there, I was able to get that snap close enough that I'm happy with it. There's still a few artifacts that need to be cleaned up, and there's some other things going on around here, but I'm not going to worry about that. What I'm most happy with is the outcome of the trees and the grapes. Now, a few of you mentioned about the grapes in the center, but if I import the actual photograph, you see they are distorted because they're not going to be perfect they're bushes, but grapevines. They're not going to be absolutely symmetrical. These down here are, and they should be. But this up here, if I look at that and I look at the way that the bushes and the ground growth is here and all that versus this is actually pretty darn good. So, and that's good because that means I've got a whole, I don't have to even mess with that. That's a good piece of artwork. But this, ungroup it. The circle is not really good. In fact, if we go over here to node editing tool, see all those nodes? The more circular it is, the fewer nodes you're going to have. And I could use edit and come up here and do optimize selected shapes. Tell it to smooth my source shapes. I'm going to maximize that out. And then come down here and reduce the number of nodes. And see the curve looks a whole lot better. But you see all these nodes across here, that's just no longer, it's not a straight line. It's a whole bunch of curves. Say, and then I'll come up here and say fit shapes to lines. Now that eliminates all those nodes down here and makes me have a pretty straight line there. And that's pretty good. It ain't bad, but it ain't Hobo perfect. But that's pretty good. I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to do the same thing down here to this one. I will optimize selected shapes, smooth my source shapes. I'm going to maximize that out. I'm going to reduce those numbers in the nodes in the arc, and then I'm going to flatten that straight line and say okay. Now, that's better than it was, much better than it was, but it's still it's actually pretty close to what they've got going on here. They got a radius going on there, and kind of a scrunchy looking. It's not curved, that's angles, and it's little things like that. And then these little arbitrary pieces, clean those up and get rid of them. And these pieces right here on this one, that will go away if you use the optimized shapes, but that's not what I did, and that's not what I do. I want these things when I'm if I'm doing a design for someone and they're paying me for it. Close enough ain't good enough. In fact, I made the comment in the I think it was in the Patreon stream the other night. Says, yeah, that's pretty good. You can't see it from my house. That looks good. Yeah, well, if I'm being paid to do a job, or if I want, then no, that's not my mentality. So I will recreate, because those are just simply circles. There's everything else about that design, except the trees and the font, are circles and straight lines. So why, instead of trying to repair it all, just recreate it? Thank you, V. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to set this over here for a second. And what I'm going to do is, this is the original scan of this photograph. I'm going to move this one. This one's my finished piece. I'm going to set it out of the way. That's 3.0 that I sent to Carl earlier. I'm going to select all of this image and I'm going to group it back together for a minute. Now that it's grouped, I'm going to take this guideline and I'm going to tell it to go across its center right there. And you'll see why I wanted that centered up in a second. I'm going to recreate all of my circles. So if I grab this and just ungroup it, if I click on this line right here, if you look, because of the way it traced, it's not a full circle. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, so it's going to be pretty close, but you see, I've got some odd measurements here. Well, I don't need to worry about that. I don't need to worry about what its dimensions are at all, because I've got a horizontal center and I know what my maximum widths are. So I'm going to select my circle tool. I'm going to come right over here on the outermost piece. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to start drawing a circle over here to where that toolpath intersects that line again. I'm going to hit my escape button. I'll pull that circle right up there. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to circle tool and I'm going to go to the next one. And I want to come to that intersection point and I will just draw a circle to there. I'm not going to bother moving it. I'm just going to come right over here to the next line, holding shift and that intersection point, and draw to that one. Then I'm going to come over here to this one. And if you look, this is not a complete circle now, but it was at one time. So I'm going to start right here and draw a circle to that one. Now I can select, I've already got that one down there selected, holding shift, select all of those and tell them to center up. And there is a perfect, sphere of circles, a combination that I need for this piece. Really quickly done that. That was faster to do that than it was to use the optimization tool to go in and try and clean everything up. It's faster to recreate it than to try and fix it. So, but now how do I get this down here? Well, real simple. I'm actually just going to create, I've already created that circle that's up here, but I'm going to create another one and leave it in place. I'm going to come up here to my circle tool, draw that circle out, and actually then I'll need to tell it to go to the center of that piece. And actually not that one, because that's not connected. I'll go there and center that up. And this right here also, this highlights how skewed this image is, because now that circle I just put up there is nowhere near what that image is that was brought in and traced, because everything is twisted and inclined, reclined. Look at the difference here. This is the circle that I just created. How high and far away from it is up here, but down here it's awful darn close. On the sides, it's perfect. Bless you, Carl. Thank you. That right there is a perfect circle that you did not have because of the way the photograph was. All right, so now I need to create this distance between these letters. I'm done with this line. I'm going to grab it and I'm going to bring it down and snap it to that right there. And I'm going to grab another one and bring it down here and snap it to that one. Now I'm going to grab both of those, group those together, hold my shift button and select that circle. And why am I not seeing my selector tool? Oh, duh. I was looking for my corner dots telling me that everything was selected. But because those lines are 15 miles long, the corner dots are out on the ends of that. And that's why I didn't see them. I was like, wait a minute, something's wrong. So if I select these two lines, see, there's those. In fact, just for giggles, those two are selected. I'm going to tell it to go to the center of this, the vertical center. So now you at least see some of them. So those are selected, and I'm going to hold shift and select that circle. Now, all that's selected, I'm going to grab that and drag it up here. I'm going to put those on the black layer. And now I'm going to ungroup everything. And I'll use my scissor tools. Scissors. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut there, 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 and there. Let's group those back together. And this is that. I don't need that. So I'm going to get rid of it. Grab those two, center that up. And that is not close, but that's perfect. It's extremely clean. So now I'm going to get rid of this. Get rid of these. And drag from here to here. And I got to be careful here because I don't want to I will keep dragging. Oh, don't go that high. There we go. All right. So all that I want to keep. Now I'm going to select this. I was really, really happy with this piece. I'm going to group that back together and we will put it over here. Actually, I need to ungroup that. And now select that and tell it to go to the center and see what it looks like. It may need to be, no, that actually looks pretty good there. Actually, it can come down looking at the photo. In fact, I can use the photo here to double check my alignment in a second. But we're going to leave that there for right now. That needs to be moved. But now, I'm not worried about the asymmetry of the tree line and the vineyard because it looks great the way it is, and it's supposed to be nature, and you do see symmetry in nature, but not necessarily in tree lines and in rows in the vineyard. But when it comes down to these horizontal lines that are above the winery and the dashes on either side of the winery, those I want those symmetrical. I'm okay with the leaves at the bottom, but because the image is skewed, I don't have the symmetry. I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix that. And because of it being skewed, it looks like they're closer to this side than they are this side, and they are, because the image represents, you know, what it's not right because of the way it's off center or the way it's skewed. But first, I'm going to go ahead and select this right here and delete it. I'm going to grab every bit of this, group it, and tell it to go to center of this one. And it don't need to go to center, but that's where we're going to put it for now. Actually, that one might be in the center. Grab all of 5. Actually, before I move 5 trees, I'm going to fix 5 trees. All right. In this image, and from what I can, I went online and looked at their website and looked at the actual logo. And the logo, and the crazy thing happened when I went and looked at the logo online. The logo online is all white. I copied that, brought it into Lightburn to see if it would trace out, and it wouldn't trace at all. I tried, and being that it was a white image, I played with the brightness and the contrast and the gamma and got it to where it showed up really, really good. On screen, it looked like a good black and white image. But when I went to trace it, it traced absolutely nothing. And that was the first time I ran into that. It was a great looking on screen. It looked good, but nothing traced, no matter what I did. But gave me the opportunity to look at their representation of 5 trees. And here, Carl has the ability to, because I think this was a family member. I'm thinking maybe he said it was his son or somebody he knew that was this was their winery. And so he has the ability to go right to the horse's mouth and say, hey, what font are you using? And he's going to say, I don't know. I paid Chris down the street to do that for me. Well, that's okay, because Chris is down the street and he can contact Chris and find out, they can look at the original artwork and find out what it was. And if you can get the actual font, that would be the ideal thing, to get the actual font. And I tried using some font identifiers and come up with some pretty good suggestions, but none of them were free, and they were $50 and $60 fonts. And I said, yeah, I'll fix this. I ain't paying $50, $60 for font. But looking at his logo, the F and 5, everything's all caps, but the F in 5 is larger. The T in trees is larger, and the S in trees is larger. So they're not equivalent sized fonts. And our S is messed up because of that one little grain of grass right there. But that's not a big problem. It's easy enough to fix with Lightburn. But if you look, this is not grouped. If I look at this right now, this has a height of 19.8, 19.8, but 19.3. It's a 0.5 mil shorter than these. But it's, 2 mil taller than those? Yeah. So I'm 90% sure this is supposed to be as large as that, but a combination of that tree or that grass blade through there and the fact that it was a skewed image, it's got it off kilter, and we're going to fix that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fix the S. I'm going to grab, let's start here first. I'm going to go into node editing, and I'm going to come, this part of the S, I feel like is probably what it should be. So I don't want to lose that part of the curve. So I'm going to come right down here, and I'm going to insert a node right there. And by inserting that node, that anchors that part of that curvature of that S all the way around. And I'm going to come to this one And that's where I want it to break off there. And I'm going to say B for break. Break it there, and B for break where I just inserted. Now, I can't select that part of that line while the whole piece is selected. And if you try to select in Node Editor, you can't select anything unless you select right on the line, and then you'll select that one. Now I can come back over here and select that line where I broke it here, and hit the delete button. Get rid of it. Then I'm going to come over here to this one. And right there is where I think the S needs to start to curve back up and come to there. So I'm going to hit B for break right there. And right there is where that S should continue up to there. But before I break this off, I'm going to come back over here to this line. And I'm going to go to that node that I just inserted and broke it right there. And I'm going to hover over that, and I'm going to hit the letter E. E for extend. And that shot that node straight out to that part of the S. And you see it's just a little bit below where I thought that it should come into curve. And I think it does need to be up there. But now I don't have to, I've got a lot better guesstimation. So I can come back over here to this node and hit B for break there. And then I break it up here already. I'm going to hit it again just to make sure. B for break. Now, if I select on that line to get that one deselected, I can come back to this one. There we go. And hit delete and get rid of that. So now I'm going to come back down here to that, grab that node and snap it right there. Come on, snap together. Now, the problem I'm having is that handle right there. That node is coming up and it's twisted and going out this direction. But if I take this handle and start straightening this up, see how it starts changing everything below it? So if I'm going to hit Control Z, put that back to where it was at. So if I want to make sure I keep this funkiness going on that's down here, then I need to create an anchor point by inserting a node right there. Now, anything I do up here to this one is not going to affect anything below those other nodes. That's all going to stay the same. So grab that and snap it. Come on, baby. Snap on there. And if that one don't want to snap, grab the other one. Snap it. And this is the fun part of node editing. Sometimes they won't work. They won't snap together. Hold Shift, select the other line, and try Alt-J. Alt-J for join. And if you noticed, those changed directions as soon as I did that. I'm going to say Control-Z to undo it. See how those are running downhill? They did not want to snap together, but by using Alt-J, watch those ants change directions. Alt-J. They started running uphill. So now those are joined. Those are connected. Now I just need to do the same thing over here. Now this is where you definitely need to create anchor points in these, because if I start dragging this over here to connect it, see how everything gets deformed? I don't want to do that. Control Z to undo it. So I'm going to put an anchor point by inserting another node here and here to maintain that original silhouette going on up here. This up here looks a little bit funky. We're going to work on that too. But now that I got those anchored in, I can actually just grab that node, bring it down here, snap it to that one. And then I can come right here in the middle and see how those handles are moving around up there? That's not what I want. Control Z. Insert another anchor point right here with the letter I. Insert there. And now I can drag that down. That all stays the same, and I can use these handles to play with that to get that curve the way I want it. Now, that's all joined together. That up there is deformed. I'm going to delete. Before I do anything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to put it on a toolpath, T2, And now I turned these my layers and stuff off so y'all could see the full screen, but I need to see this now. So go back here. I'm going to turn off that toolpath so I can select that there, go into node editing. Now that that's selected and in node editing, if I turn my toolpath back on, that blue toolpath is underneath there. So now if I start moving this around, actually, I'm going to delete those. I'm going to delete. I'm using the letter D, not the delete button. Deleted those. But there's that original S. I can drag this out, and I'm going to try and match this top corner up here as close as I can. And then look over here at that. There we go, right there. And that is probably as close as that trees was to begin with. Close. Now I'm going to select all those. Go get my selector tool. I'm going to select all those. And now I will use my optimization tool. And I'm going to show you another trick. Actually, before I do that, let's get the size right. 19.8. I'm going to make sure my anchor point is in the center. And I want to tell it to go to 19.8. That made it just ever so slightly larger. These are not grouped, so I'm going to group those because another thing that happens, because it's skewed, the distance between the letters is off ever so slightly. So I'm going to take, now that I've got the R was 2 pieces. I grouped that together. The rest of these are individual pieces. I'll take that, and then I'm going to tell it to distribute evenly with space between them. And that moved those just ever so slightly. Come back over here to the 5 trees, or the 5, and let's see what happens when I do that one. There we go. That cleaned that up a little bit. Now I'm going to group all of that. Actually, before I group it, there's another thing I want to do. Because this is not a font, and because of how fine these are, when you go to laser engrave these, I was concerned about how small that was going to be. So I went and did an offset of 1/4 mil outward. And I'm not doing outer shapes only. So I've got that piece of the R as well. And say, okay. And that just boldened those up ever so slightly. And now I want to double check and see how it is horizontally. So I'm going to put that right there on the bottom of that E. And your curved letters, anything with a curve on it, is going to extend below the line. That's normal. But the 5, the F, the I, those all look good. So I can get rid of that. Make sure those are grouped. They are. Then I can come over here. And now, where does it need to be in here? Well, it needs to be in the center of that. I don't have a center of that. Well, it's easy enough. All you got to have is a square or a rectangle that you start at that line and end at that line. And now you can select your 5 trees and come over here and tell it to go to the vertical center of this, and then the horizontal center of that square. And that's going to put that in place. And now you don't need that toolpath anymore. That takes care of my 5 trees. I'm happy with this up here, except for its overall placement, which we're going to work with. But now this symmetry down here with these, I'm going to ungroup them. These are skewed. Some of you may see it, some of you may not notice it, but I'm going to clean these up real easy by using the Optimize Select Shape tools, by simply smoothing out the source shapes, maximize it all the way out, and then just eliminate as many nodes there as possible. And what I'm looking at is before I do that, I've got 1,000 points. If I come in here and start reducing them, I see it down to 560, 520, 511. 511 looked like that might have been the lowest number. So that was 515. I'll get right in there and say, okay. Now, all that's going to be a moot point in a second. I'm going to take those and I'm going to temporarily group them. Tell it to go to the center of this, the vertical center. And then I'm going to draw a straight line through those, intersecting them. Let's put it on the black path. Put it in the center of those. There we go. Now I'm going to use, I got to ungroup them because scissors will not work with a group. So everything ungrouped, using my scissor tool, come back over here, cut, 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 and cut, and cut in between them. Now I've got 3 halves. Go to my selector tool, select everything, group it, Control D to duplicate it and flip it. Move it over here out the way. Alt Shift H to align them horizontally. And they're not ready to weld. Let's try, oh, wrong. Grab those 3, and I'm just going to bring them. I've got my shift arrow set to 1/4 mil, so I'm going to bring them in just a 1/4 mil. They barely overlap each other. And if I select everything, still not letting me weld them together. Let's try grouping them back there, and because I didn't do it before, group those back, Alt, Control those, and still not letting me weld those together. Oh, you know why? The reason it's not letting me weld those together is because when I use the scissor tools to cut those down in half, before I duplicated them and flipped them, I should have checked and made sure that they were closed shapes. The scissor tool did not close those up, and they're open shapes, and because they're open shapes, the Boolean tools won't work. How do you fix that? Come back up here, ungroup everything. See if I can do them 3 at a time. Edit, close path. Might could have done all of them. Edit, close path. Now, did that work? Yes, because now with everything selected, I can hit my weld tool and weld those together. They're all grouped again. I changed the length of them 1/4 mil, so I'm holding shift, select that, tell it to go to the center, and now they're centered up and they're symmetrical. We're almost done. Now I need to fix this part, the winery. That is a lot longer than that. So I'm going to say Control D, duplicate that, and tell it to come over here and center up on this one. Then go in here and grab the little one and get rid of it. Then I'm going to grab winery. Actually, before I do, R is 2 pieces. Grab it and group it together. And let's check the spacing on it. Space, distribute them evenly on the horizontal with space in between them. Actually, I don't like the way that moved together. It looked like I increased the gap over there. So I'm going to Control Z, undo it. That looks better as it is. So group those. Then I need to group this and this. Those are grouped. Then make sure that they're actually in the center. And then center winery and that. And on its horizontal too. There we go. And then I'm going to group that. And I'm going to bring it down just a bit. And actually, what I can do is take those 3, make sure they're grouped. That line's grouped. That's grouped. If I do a distribute vertically. There we go. Those are now perfectly centered with even spaces between them. And that, I grab the original image, trace. See it? Before I did all the editing with the photo, I can eliminate some of this by coming here and telling it to get rid of, anything smaller than at 20. But that's what I have to go in there and clean up if I'm starting with just the original photograph. So I see people talk about using Image R and a bunch of other things I've never even opened up or looked at. There's lots of photo processors out there. Some of them, I guess you can use some of their features for free. The background removal, that's huge. But most of your phones have that capability. Most of the cameras in your phones today are higher quality than anything that they used on the supposed moon landing. So you can do a lot, and you can get really good high quality, high resolution images, process it in your phone, and before you even input it in, do all the background removal, look for any spot removal tools you can use, bring that in, save a whole lot of work and processing that in Lightburn. And I went through all that without even looking at the comments to see. Let me scroll up and look and see if I lost. Let's see. I seen one question, but let me go up to the mark. There's my mark. All right, coming down. Questions and comments. Lots of numbers. Love it. Love to see those numbers. And for anybody who's new to the stream, when you see numbers like this is Larry indicating he's learned 3 things today in this stream. Beauty says she's already learned 5 things in this stream. But we got a question from Steve. What format is the sign on your phone? That's just a JPEG. That's just whatever they sent me. That's just a regular photograph that's in my photo gallery. So whatever format they sent me, I didn't take the photograph. That's what they sent me. And it's just a regular JPEG, I guess. That font looks like copperplate and gives you larger caps and smaller caps. I think I looked at copperplate. Copperplate has got right angles on there, and I think what do they call those? Sans, the feet on the letters. I'm pretty sure they had right angles on everything. This obviously didn't. This one had curves. The R tapered off is rounded. Copperplate looked good, but it wasn't exactly what was there. And I would rather clean up exactly what was there than to have something that's completely different than what they had. I'm working with an image of a truck, and Steve's not from this side of the pond. So those, I don't even know how you say that. Scania. Those are like Freightliners over yonder. Do you have Freightliners over there? I doubt it. Freight shakers. It was saved as an image format. Could not modify it other than bring up the DPI to 498 and trace it. Yeah. And that's another thing is, you can increase your DPI in the adjust image part of Lightburn. What you could try and do I'm working and see here, the quality of your photo makes all the difference in the world. If it's a low resolution image and it's a pickup or not a pickup, those are the large, what do y'all call them over there? Lorries. Those are the large freight trucks over there. And if it's sitting on the town square and it's got, a city street behind it and traffic lights and all that, then that's going to be a whole lot of stuff to edit out. But there is a possibility, if it's just a regular photo, email that photo to your phone, open it in your gallery in your phone, and see what you can do with it there in a way of trying to clean it up, and then email that back to yourself. You some phones even have the ability to upscale the image, increase the resolution of the image, depending on what information is there. It can only do so much with what it's got. If you resize the S, shouldn't it align with the bottom of? No. Any font you pick, doesn't matter. Name one, pick one, and you type out the word stop. And you put a line above and below on the T. The T has got a perfect horizontal straight line on the top and a perfect horizontal line on the bottom. And you put a guideline at the top and bottom of that T. The S is going to extend above and below that line. Any character in a font that has a curve on the bottom or the top or both will extend beyond the line. It's just a characteristic of the fonts. In case you missed it, Son said that was AI generated. Okay, I didn't see that. So AI generated the original artwork, and then they made the sign out of it. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, it's not copperplate. Copperplate's, like I said, it's all right angles. It would look good, but it's not what they had. Okay. So, there were some other things I was wanting to talk about. Oh, and guys and gals, this type of, like it's, this was something. Carl is a patron, but I do not qualify people asking for help. When they ask for help, I try and help. And instead of just doing this, what I would have preferred to have done, had I had time, had Carl had time, and we worked our schedule out, we get together and I would have sat down with him on a one-on-one in a stream like this and teach him everything that we just looked at for the last hour and 10 minutes, so that he then has that working knowledge of how to do this. And oh, I did not fix the height of those trees. I don't know if somebody just said that, or and can't you resize the S to match? Yeah, you can, but it wouldn't be correct, because the correct is to have it larger. And in this artwork, the F, the T, and the S, they are larger, and the S itself should extend above and below the line. That's the correct way for the font to represent itself. In fact, just for giggles, just so y'all see I ain't making this up, if I come over here to a font and whatever this Symmetry is, in fact, you know what? We mentioned copperplate. Let's grab copperplate. Come on. Copperplate Gothic. Let's see here. Trying to think of what this do. Steve. And then is a rock star. I'm just trying to think of things that have the letter S in it, or any other letters that might curve. But if I bring a horizontal line down here and I snap it right to the bottom of that T, see how every letter that has a curve in it, every letter that doesn't, the T, the E, the V, they all sit right on that line. But the S's, they extend below it. And if I were to use, let's go back here, select that and tell it to do all uppercase, and I take and draw a line to the top of that R, see the S is above it and below it. Every single font. What's another letter that has a curve in it? The S, I'm looking at my keyboard. O, dummy. The O. See, there's the O. It extends below and above. And it doesn't matter what font you use. letters that have a curvature at the top and the bottom of it will extend higher and lower than the rest of the letters in the word. It's called a baseline. Okay. That's what Beauty says. But anyway, what I was saying is I would do this, and I have done this week with others. I don't know if Glenn's in the stream, but we had a good time the other night working with Glenn and a bunch of patrons doing some design work that Glenn had a request for. And then we did another one for the square and compass for the Masons. We were live streaming the other night, was it Wednesday night, for 5 or 5.5 hours in my patron live stream. Glenn was not a patron. He is now. Thank you, Glenn. But he was not, and we did that, and I was happy to do it. But I would rather teach you how to do these things and be so you can be self-sufficient. Yeah. And I love sharing what I know. And plus, during these collaborations like we did, I learned stuff. And the finished piece almost always comes out better than I would have done it, or that any one of them would have done it. The collaboration and the input from others, it raises the game. It brings everything to another level. And just for giggles, I'm going to come over here and show you the square and compass we did as a collab. Get rid of all of that. File, recent. Here it is. No. And I want you to look at the precision. You could actually use this as a ruler if you cut it out at, whatever. I mean, they're perfect. Everything on this thing is perfect. And how do you get the guidelines in Lightburn? This is one of the hardest things you'll ever do in Lightburn. So pay real close attention, Pebbles. Pay attention. All right. I'm gonna turn your comment off. You got your cursor. You see how you got your pointer? You take that cursor and you roll it right up here into your numbers for your measurement. And as soon as your cursor changes to a horizontal line with a couple of squiggles, left click, drag it down. Come over here to this side. You got your cursor. Scrolling over till it, same thing, click, drag it in. And you can drag these in as many as you need. And then they're nothing more than just straight tool paths. If we scroll way, 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 way out, you can see that they're just really, really, really long tool paths. And you can use them because they're straight lines and they originate from here, from the 0 point. So if I come right here and drag one out and then I select it, you should see right there. There's the center point of that line. If I come over here to this one, there's the center point of that line because it generates from the 0 line out. So the problem, not a problem. So you be aware of that, because if you're working in here really, really close and you say, okay, well, there's my guideline and I need to rotate this 20 degrees, and you rotate it up here 20 degrees, it looks like it just disappeared. It didn't disappear. The center of the line was down here and it rotated from center. And so it's down here rotated 20 degrees. So you had to bring it back up here. So it rotates from the center point whenever you tell it to rotate and move around. And I use that function a lot when I'm trying to get stuff lined up. That plus, if you haven't seen the video, this week's video on the Control 2 for the rotate and scale, you need to go back and watch that, because that's another way that you can rotate things around to the perfect angle and scale them up at the same time. It's a really, really good tool. Question. I see question. There it is. Machine question. There are 2 pegs on the top of the Roly MK2 gantry, one at each end. What are they for? They look pretty. And they're different too. One of them, this one is perfectly cylindrical, and this one has a hex on the top of it that the other one don't. I don't know. It made me totally guessing. It may have to do with and this one over here being that it looks like it's adjustable. I think that has to do with the belt tension. I've not had to mess with my tension on my belts. Carl says they are the right and left stops. I don't think they're stops. I think this is the belt tension filling underneath there. No, there's the tension. There's the tension. I honestly don't know. I'd be totally speculating. They are the axle for the belts. Chris is what Chris is saying. Yeah, I think filling underneath there, it does. It does. I do feel it's belt related. They're not just pretty, not like I said initially. But I've not had to mess with the tension on my belts. This all I've had to do with my machine is clean it, and it's awesome. Have a look at the size box. Those guidelines are 20 meters long. Oh yeah, up in the top. You can see the actual measurements in your X and Y position. Yeah. And yes, you can shorten them. I did not know that you could rotate guidelines. Absolutely. Yes. He introduced those 2 years ago almost, and I don't design without them. They are a godsend when you're actually designing. It would be nice if you could set the length. You can set the length of the guidelines, same as your work area. In fact, because that's what Chris was saying, and let me just show y'all. Since John's not aware, I was, but John's not. If I come down here, in fact, let's just get rid of all these. Now in fact, I got one here. In fact, let's get rid of it completely. And so if I come over here and drag one out, there's the 0 point because that's where it generates from. And if you look up here, let's select it, and it tells you right there, the height is 20,000 millimeters or 780 inches. So if I only want it to be 16 inches, I just tell it 16. And there it is, 16 inches. So you can control the height of that and make it whatever length you want it to. But as far as controlling the height of it as a default and making that the default size, I don't know if you can do that or not. That'd be cool if you could. Maybe mention that, Chris. Chris Gallagher, whenever you're talking with the guys, tell them, hey, the guidelines are extremely popular. And maybe not make it so just make it so that you can have the option of changing it to a default size. So if somebody says, I want my guidelines to come in at 400 and 400, because some of the work areas are that. So yeah, that'd be kind of cool to be able to set your default size of those guidelines. It's not that big of a deal because I just clip away what I don't want. But what I end up with when I do that is I have to pay attention if I bring a guideline in here and I'm doing what I need to do. And I'm like, okay, I just need to, I only need the part around. And let's say if I've got another one down here, and I'm working with my scissors and I cut away. I said, okay, I don't need that. And I don't need that. That's off my toolpath. And I don't need that. And I keep working, doing what I want to do. Well, I forgot. Because I did that very end piece, I got rid of it. Whenever there is another, I will have random pieces that are left down at the bottom that I may not see. And I forget about them because that's like, okay, I'm like, okay, I don't need that. But then that's all the way down there. And that over. So yeah, it'd be kind of cool if you could set the defaults on those. All right. But not a big deal. That's not a big deal at all. Possible for Wi-Fi. Don't know what you're talking about there, Three Dogs. Michael says your stop post. I don't know. It's not that doesn't contact anything. That has to do with, I think Chris said that's the axles for the pulleys for the belts or something. That one. But I've not had to mess with it. Have you had to mess with it for some reason? Why do you ask what they are? If I'm just curious if you've had an issue that I have not ran into. Yeah, Chris, again, they are the axle for belts. They are used in removing the gantry. I had to do it when I had to replace my gantry. Okay. No, the limit switch is down here. That doesn't contact anything with the limit switch. Alignment pins. That's what I was thinking too. The belt tensioners will line up with the hole in the acrylic on the side. Oh yeah, in the very back. Yep. They are hard chips. What is the thing near the home? Yeah, that's the Wi-Fi antenna down here. That's the Wi-Fi antenna down here. I did. They gave me the reason, but I can't remember what they are that or why they are that big. You can move the center to where you want it. Oh yeah, yep, yeah. You can move the guidelines just like any other line. You can put it wherever you need to be. And that's another thing is and I started doing that. And what Peggy is referring to. Yeah, set default lines for each machine or for each. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be to be able to do that would be nice. Peggy's talking about there moving the center of the line. I started doing that whenever I got tired of chasing my lines. So if I brought a guideline over here and I wanted to rotate this within the center of that piece, if I tell it right now, select that line and tell it to rotate 5 degrees, that's not rotating from the center. So Control Z, if I select the guideline and then select that and tell it to go to the centers, that brings that center of that guideline to the center of the circle. And now when I tell it to rotate 5 degrees, it rotate. Well, it didn't want to rotate the circle. So you get just a guideline. Rotate rotate it 10 degrees. And it rotates it from the center. So yes, Peggy, absolutely. And I started doing that too. I started moving it that way. When I rotate my guideline, it stays right where I want it to be. So my center of the guidelines in play. Let's see here. Yeah. Those pins, he says, maybe for Wi-Fi. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm not going to say. But I think, as others mentioned, they alignment purposes, axle purposes for the belt. They wouldn't be there if they didn't serve a purpose. I can promise you that. But I don't know what their purpose is because I've only had to clean and maintain mine. Thank goodness. If you look where the stop switch makes contact, it's at those posts. The stop switches are on the back of the module. And when it slides on the X axis, that's where they come into contact. All right. Yeah, I wanted them to default to max access size of device. Yeah, that and you say, yeah, I wanted them to, as in you may have had some part of the collaboration whenever they were developing those things and you wanted to do that and you got voted out of it. It's easier just to make a big line and not have to worry about putting it into programming to how do you hook up the Wi-Fi on the MK2XW? Lyle, I do not. I don't trust my Wi-Fi, and I don't trust any Wi-Fi. If I've got a 3-hour job burning, I don't want to have a burp or hiccup in my signal because I've got to go 3 feet. My cable is plenty long enough. It's not an issue. I don't want to use Wi-Fi. But there are others who would benefit from being Wi-Fi because their machine is not 3 feet from their tower. And I have never set up Wi-Fi on any of my lasers. So instead of being a fountain of knowledge and speaking out my butt about things I don't know about, I don't know. I don't know. I've not had the need to do it, and so I just don't do it. And that's the one thing, guys. The one thing I will tell you without a shadow of a doubt, I am not your technical guy. That's what Dimitri's for the Roly. But when it comes to designing and Lightburn and figuring things out and figuring out different ways to do things, and I will have 3 or 4 different ways of doing the same thing. And anybody that tells you, oh, this is the way to do this, they need to be smacked in the back of the head like Jethro Leroy Gibbs. No. A good Gibbs smack to the back of the head because there's not a way or not the way to do this. There's always multiple ways. Yahoo, you always have other options. What's the prize for the best speculative guess? Actually, no, there is no more speculative guess anymore. I think it was Mike was right. That is where the limit switches are at. They come in contact with those posts. But I think they might. I don't know if they serve multiple purposes because those are great big posts for limit switches. But now that I feel that, I got under. It's not axles. No, there is nothing there for that. I don't know why they're different though. I don't know why one's got the hex head on top and one doesn't. But that post just screws into the gantry, and there's nothing else there. Those are nothing more apparently than stops, big stops. And I guess maybe they're that big because of the potential inertia that they could hit those with at its fastest possible speed. So they're beefy, just like the entire machine. They're substantial. So that sounds about right. Yep. I always catch the replay. Always get the replay. Yep. So John saying 8 but 76 likes. Shame on y'all. That's still better than most. That's 76% of you, 100 watching. That's pretty good. All right, I'm happy with that. Let's see more questions. There. Thanks, Hobo. Now I have to go to the store after the live for RC. Yeah. I need to get them to and I need to be in a collaboration with RC. And I spend about $25 a month, which is cheap. I spend about $25 a month on RC colas, but man, they're in practically every live. They should give me my supply of RC. A nice change would be to have the default center to be where you clicked to pull the that. But a lot of those things and they could be done, but it's just more programming, I'm sure. And so keep it simple, stupid. The KISS method is always the best way. Kiroy's on with Russ's show tonight talking about laser. Russ's show? Russ who? I know who Kilroy is, but Russ who? Because the Russ I know, I didn't think he was even able to have any kind of show. I must be a different Russ. Because the Russ I know, I don't know him having a show. Yep, I need to put up on number one. I actually, I've learned a lot this week. I did learn today about those being the stops. I don't use Wi-Fi on my laser CNCs or 3D printers. Yeah, if I'm running a job, I want it to be. I want to have don't want it to be fail because of a connection issue. I've learned there are 3 ways to do things in Lightburn: your way, my way, and another way. There you go. All right. Where are you at, Jeff? Jeff says, I can't find RC out here. Very, very rare. Out where? I'm just curious. Where are you at, Jeff? I was working on the laser and all of a sudden the left. I was working on the laser and all of a sudden the left to right stopped working. Hey. Chris says, I only use Wi-Fi to get files from my house to the work sheds. The more lines of code, the more chance for bugs. Yep. All right, guys. Well, and gals, guys and gals. And that's never mind. I was about to go off on a tangent, but I ain't gonna do that. Thank you all. Thanks, Bob. Thanks. Thank you for being here. Look at your images, but especially if it's logos. When it's time to recreate those images, or if you're trying to, typically they're made with squares, rectangles, and triangles. And you can recreate a lot of the actual artwork, especially the perimeter stuff, a whole lot easier than you can go in and try and clean things up. No tangent today. No. Sponsor time. Go over to patreon.com/hobo with wood. Oh, you know what? Let's see here. We'll do a sponsor. Let's see here. D video asset videos. Okay. All right. So let's see. I need to remove this. Let's see. Present. Stop screen. All right, done. Share screen. Share. Also share system audio. Share. And hopefully it works. It's thinking. It's thinking. Every day around the world, unseen tragedies unfold. We often think of animals and the neglected pets yearning for a warm touch. But there's another silent sufferer. The hobby laserologist without wood. His laser, a powerful tool of artistic expression, it lies dormant. Its beam, once carving intricate designs into beautiful wood, is now steel. Hobo yearns for the grain, the texture, the inspiration that only wood can provide. He dreams of crafting personalized gifts, intricate models, the very things that bring joy to others and purpose to his life. But without a steady supply of quality wood, his passion withers. The silence in his workshop is deafening. The creative spark, once so bright, now flickers weakly. How much longer can Hobo endure this woodless existence? For less than the cost of your daily cup of coffee, you can provide and make a difference in Hobo's life. For just $20 a month, you can provide him with a steady supply of beautiful hardwoods, igniting his creativity and filling his workshop with the joyful whir of his laser once more. Your small contribution can unleash a torrent of laser-engraved wonders. You can help Hobo rediscover his passion, bring his unique talents back to life. Your support as a gold patron will get you a coupon code that will allow you to download all of Hobo's creations on hobowithwood.com for free. Visit patreon.com/hobowithwood and become a gold patron today. Give that gift of inspiration. Give the gift of wood. Give Hobo a reason to laser again. All right. So yeah, go over to hobowithwood.com and become a supporter. Help keep this channel going. And if you become it doesn't gold, silver, or bronze, doesn't matter. This has been probably the third week we've done some of those collaboration streams where it's a patron only. Well, it's not patron only. Patron only viewing and participation, because I do help non-patrons as well. But we'll sit here and just get in and start jamming and start designing and bouncing ideas off each other. And like I said, it was 5.5 hours last Wednesday night. And those are fun. They really are. You're like, really? 5 hours? and I forget who it was, but one of the collaborators said, "Okay, I gotta go. My butt's hurting." His butt done fell asleep sitting there so long. But I'm here working and designing anyway, so I figured why not? I'll go in there and help people out, and they can watch what I do, learn by observing, and we have a good time just hanging out and shooting. People drop in, drop out, and there's never a whole lot of people because it is limited. It is something that is it's not shown on YouTube for general viewing, but it is streamed on YouTube. So the patrons have two options. They can click on one link and simply watching it as you are now, and be able to contribute in the comments. Then I provide a second link that allows them to actually join me in the online studio, and we can talk in real time, face to face, and it's easier to communicate that way. I try to keep that collaboration down to a handful of people, so I don't have too many voices in my head at one time, because there's enough up here as it is. We don't need too many. So Hobo with Wood, or patreon.com/Hobo with Wood. Go over and are you still getting an echo? That we fixed it. Terry saying kill one audio. There's not. I don't have the one audio on, so hopefully it's not still echoing. I had it up a little bit so I could hear it, but I didn't realize it was causing the feedback. Jesse, I'm working with a design and I will need your input in a couple of days. Jesse, or I don't know if you're the same Jesse. There was a patron Jesse that tried to get into the stream the other night, and there was a tremendous amount of feedback with his connection. Every time he tried to get on, his growling at us. So I ended up having to mute it and never did get a good connection. Okay, so echo's gone. Okay. So any patrons that are here now, there are a few people who, that was you, Jesse? Okay, good. There are a few people who have said they needed some assistance today. They tried to contact me before going live. I'm getting ready to drop a link into the Patreon page that will allow you to come into this studio and I can help you there. So go on to patreon.com and look for the link for this studio. As when I end this, I'll post it in Patreon, and then you can click on there, and you and a few others that needed some help. We'll see if I can get you done before I need to go eat. Yeah, use on your iPad. Yeah, see about doing good connection. Got to be a good connection, and you only have one of those links open at a time. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. And like I said, patrons, look for me to drop another link in Patreon here in just a second for you to be able to come in and join. All right. Thanks for everybody hanging out, and we'll see you in the next video. I'm Steve, Hobo with Wood, and I'm out.